Welcome to America's Top Rebbetzins. May this class be for Refuah Shalema, for Leah Eliana Bat Amuna, and also for Haya Rachel Bat Devorah Mindel. If you'd like to sponsor an episode, please email us at atrebetzins@gmail.com. I'm so happy to have on today's show Rebbetzin Via Kimche. Born and raised in Amsterdam, Rebbetzin Kimche was very involved in Jewish youth groups. After attending seminaries in Israel, she received a BA in psychology, education, and women's studies, a diploma in childbirth education, and a certificate in marriage education. Today, she teaches and counsels countless brides and runs preparation classes for expectant parents about childbirth and parenting. Rebbetzin Kimche has been teaching Torah for over 40 years. She has taught post-high school girls and tutored at Neve Yerushalayim Seminary in Israel. She also taught in the New Yisrael Women's Learning Program and designed and implemented a curriculum in Jewish personal and social health education for students at the Hasmonean Girls' School in London, England. Rebbetzin Kimche and her husband made Aliyah to Israel 3 years ago. She then requalified to become a life coach and EFT practitioner. Wow, you have really done so much. You have so many accomplishments. Please tell us more about yourself and what you do.
Thank you. First of all, Vera, thank you very much for inviting me on. I think this is a great initiative, but there are many women other than Rebbetzins who are also really worth interviewing. But I think you have given an exhaustive list. So yes, I've been doing all that. And I know it sounds like a big mouthful, but the truth of the matter is, Baruch Hashem, if you live long enough, you can, while you continuously develop, and I hope that most people will do that because that gives a lot of satisfaction, you build one on the other, on the other, on the other. So in London, where I was a Rebbetzin for 35 years as a Ner Yisrael community, and the Ner Yisrael community was a modern and Orthodox, staunchly Orthodox, but modern community. And Baruch Hashem, my husband managed to build that up. And I was, as a side, from nobody, it didn't exist, till a community of about 350 to 400 families with a very, very active membership. Most people just came to shul every week. So we had 5 different minyanim. And I was also very involved on the communal side of things. I built lots of educational programs. In fact, it's a long time ago, but really, it was the first one in London that we designed a whole day's learning for women with text and with a crash facility. So women really could come and learn and study like as if they were in seminary, but of course they were in London and during their normal working week. And that was very wonderful. And yeah, as a Rebbetzin, you do a lot of things. There is an enormous amount of counseling involved. There is a lot of pastoral work. There is, well, it depends what you choose to do as a Rebbetzin, as you know. I think that all Rabbaniot choose to have a bit of a different role. Some people are just the wife of the rabbi and have their own career. And some people say, no, I want to be a full partner with my husband in this very special and holy work. And I have chosen that. But I also, in the meantime, did other things. As you said, childbirth education, I studied psychology. I did a lot of color teaching. In England, it was for free. It was pro bono, as I know that it doesn't exist anymore, but it was then. And I think it still is largely like that in England. A few idealists are left. And yeah, what else is there? Well, there is, to be, of course, a Shabbos host and a shadchan and organizing singles events and, my goodness me, children's programs, youth activities, youth minyanim, Avot ubanim ubanot we did. That was a new one, not Avot ubanim, but Avot ubanim ubanot. That's the girls and the boys could come and learn with their dads on a Motzei Shabbos. That type of thing. It was very special, very exciting, many very good friendships. And we hope that people moved up a little, we hope, through our work there.
Oh, I'm sure. The role of the community Rebbetzin is so important, as you mentioned, and the fact that you were working together with your husband to build up the community, to provide so much support and programming for the members of your congregation is really, really amazing. So amazing.
Well, we felt very privileged. I met very privileged. It's a big zechus to be able to do it, and yeah, thank God. It is also very demanding. And we've now moved on. We reached a certain age. We always said we wanted to make Aliyah. We always preached that. So here we go. Here we are. And we've made Aliyah at an age where we still hopefully can contribute here in Israel to a variety of things. So to that end, if you ask me what I'm doing now, so to my surprise, I find myself teaching quite a bit of Torah. I didn't think I would, because there are many, many very learned women here, more learned than I am. But in the end, it works out. Yes, I do. I give a variety of shurim and also private learning one-on-one. And also I'm trying to develop this life coaching and EFT activity, practice here. And Baruch Hashem, it's going, it's slow because you have to build up in a new place. And yeah, I still do a bit of prenatal teaching and coaching, and and then we move on to the EFT. I have actually a little advertisement here, or a little card that I printed, and that is actually quite indicative of what I do. It's two little cards. One of them is a certified life coach and EFT practitioner. Here we go.
Oh, it's beautiful.
But the other one is the thought of giving birth daunting? Okay, that type of thing. So I'm doing that as well. In other words, if people had a traumatic birth, I try with life coaching and EFT skills to reduce that very difficult negative memory that keeps on flooding their system and impacting badly on them, to reduce that and to calm them down and prepare them, please God, for the next one in a very positive way.
Oh, wow. That's really special work that you do, and it's so meaningful to so many women. It's fantastic. And we're actually going to talk about the EFT today. I mean,
Okay.
you're very highly educated, and I know that one area that you have studied and qualified in is EFT. EFT
Right.
stands for the Emotional Freedom Techniques.
Correct.
And EFT is it's a type of tapping therapy that has been demonstrated to improve the symptoms of several mental health disorders, including anxiety, depression. And I understand that there are 3 stages of EFT. Can you please talk to us more about what EFT therapy is and explain the 3 stages of EFT?
Yes. Okay. Well, first of all, there are 2 EFTs around, not to be confused with one another. One of them is called the Emotional Freedom Technique of the tapping on the meridian points, and I'll explain a bit more later. The other one is emotionally focused technique, which really is couple counseling, and that indeed has 3 stages. EFT really has 5 stages, but it's a totally different thing. So emotionally focused techniques is to help couples who don't get along with each other, and to try and make their relationship stronger if they so want it. And there are 3 stages, but it was nothing to do with EFT. It's called de-escalation, restructuring, interactions, and consolidation. So nice, but no, I'm sure it's very good. I don't know much about it, but yes, good. But EFT is something absolutely totally different. Now, it's a very interesting therapy, which has developed, I would say, over the last 20, 25 years. And in the beginning, it was not very well known, because it seemed very alternative. It is indeed an alternative therapy, but if you look it up on YouTube, there are a few TED Talks on EFT, and well-known psychiatrists have said that EFT tapping seems to be the next very, very big and popular and very effective therapy. And it seems to be certainly much faster and quite a deep therapy. Sounds crazy, and I'll explain in a minute why this is. And people seem to be very, very happy with this. And yeah, it's the next big thing. So what is it? It is based on the idea that we all go through many, many traumas in our lives. Okay? I mean, in a sense, and it sounds ridiculous because we're not, but we are, unless you had a terribly dysfunctional, difficult childhood and you really had big traumas in your life. But we all have a series of mini traumas. Now, for example, siblings which are nasty to each other. Now, this happens all the time, but it does leave a sort of a memory in your mind. And it is particularly stored in the amygdala. The amygdala is the feeling brain. Mm-hmm. It's the brain where the fear, fight, or flight sort of mechanism happens. When a threat is perceived in our lives, we get flooded with adrenaline, and then we go into freeze, fear, flight, or fight mode. Okay, so our whole system is heightened, and then when the danger passes, our system is meant to calm down. But the truth of the matter is, human beings have not found a very effective way of calming ourselves down after such an event, whereas animals do that. They have an automatic way, and they have found it, I think, in the antelope, that if an antelope is being attacked by a lion and needs to run for his life, and he indeed survives, he is not rejoining his own social group until he has been an hour or two in the woods by himself, shaken himself physically, and rubbed against trees in order to get rid of all this incredible anxiety, calm down again, all the, all the hormones, the stress hormones, the cortisol, etc., has calmed down, and then it can be normal again. Now, we don't do that. We might cry a little bit, and it might relieve a little bit, but it is not enough. So as adults, we have stored up all these mini traumas in our amygdala. So do you understand? It is, and it is actually even stored in our whole body, in all body cells, these memories. And what has been discovered recently, not so recently, in the 1960s and 70s already, that there seems to be, and I think it is based on a very, very ancient Chinese system of the meridians, that there is energy flow in the body. And if there is disturbed energy flow, you get either physical illness or you get emotional dysfunction, like anxiety, depression, etc., etc. So I'm not talking about psychotic situations. I'm talking about psychological situations. Psychotic situations is something that you're born with. You know, if somebody's got psychiatric problems, then that is very hard to resolve with EFT. But the let's say the ordinary run-of-the-mill traumas that we go through, or even the big traumas, can be helped by restoring, listen carefully, the energy flow throughout the whole body. Wow. And releasing negative energy by tapping on certain meridian points in our body.
That's so fascinating. Wow.
It is fascinating. It is amazing. And honestly, I never believed in it. It's terrible. I'm trained in psychology. I'm trained in counseling. I'm trained in cognitive behavioral therapy. And all this energy work said, leave it to the quacks. But a good friend of mine is a trainer. And we moved to Israel, and she said, "Oh, Via, come on, join." And it was very embarrassing for me to say no. I said, no, twice I found a good excuse. The third time around, I said, okay, I'll come for a day. I'll pay for it, I'll come for a day. I didn't want to insult her by thinking, invalidating her by thinking, oh, this is rubbish. And after half a day, I was absolutely hooked. I saw that it worked. It just works. Even if you can't understand everything exactly. I mean, I've explained it to you, but of course we can't see the energy in our bodies. You understand? So you can't see these things. But I've seen the results, and it is amazing. Okay.
Wow. That is amazing. By tapping on the meridians, we can release blockages of energy to help ourselves. Wow.
Yes. And you become your own best blossoming self. It's amazing.
It's amazing. And so what are the benefits of EFT, and who can benefit most?
Everybody, anyone, the whole world. I think, yes. I mean, most people think, well, I don't need this. And most people actually get on in life fairly well. But everybody has got some things from their youth, some leftovers, even the most resilient ones amongst us. Nobody grew up in a totally idyllic world. And there are issues to be resolved. And I think it is wonderful. If you're asking me, is there a place for classical psychotherapy? I think there definitely is. Mm-hmm. But I think it isn't enough. I don't know if that was one of the questions. What is the difference between this and that? Or do you not want to go there yet?
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah, if you want to talk about the difference between psychotherapy and EFT, that's perfect.
Okay, so I think definitely there is. But okay, so what is the difference between psychotherapy, or let's say cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a shorter form, if you like, and EFT? Okay, so one works with the cognitive brain. I mean, that is what the word is, cognitive behavioral therapy. The grace, the cortex, the frontal cortex.
Mhm.
We're working, EFT works with the middle brain, which is the emotional brain. So inevitably, if you have, let's say, okay, I'm giving you a very simple example. Your sister was nasty to you when you were 8 years old. And then when you were 9 years old and 10 years old, and she never allowed you to play with her dolls, I don't know what, or she put you down in front of your friends, whatever,
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
So now let's say that you go to somebody, a talking therapy, which is psychotherapy. So what happens is that you cognitively go through it again and go back to the memory, and you talk about it and you talk it out. Now, there is definitely an important place for that. And in fact, Chazal say this in Mishle. Shlomo Melech said this. He says, Da'aga belev ish yisachena. If you've got a worry in your heart, it is important to speak it through, to talk it out. Okay.
Yes.
However, that is usually where it ends. In classical psychotherapy, you learn to understand why you're upset now. And you understand, oh, maybe it is because my boss reminds me of my sister, and my sister was nasty to me. She always put me down. And therefore, whenever I'm in the presence of my boss, I feel inferior and stupid and incapable. And I behave like that because it is a trigger. Do you understand?
Yes.
The boss is a trigger that goes back to your youth. Okay. Now, you might understand that. And in CBT, they train you over a good number of weeks, let's say 12 weeks or 20 weeks, whatever, yeah, to try and combat that and find the reasons and realize that she is not your sister, and that you are a competent adult and you're very good at your job and you don't need to take abuse from her, etc., etc. But it is all cognitive. And what happens then is that you can decide, yes, I'm not going to let her get the better of me. And what then happens is that you come to the situation and she says, oh, do me a favor, please finish this report for me. And you say, but I can't. Do me a favor, you go and do it now. And you become your own quivering 8-year-old self again. It happens time and time and again. So in other words, you might understand it. You might decide to be better. And sometimes it's very successful, but it is long and laborious. Whereas with this EFT, what happens is that the memory, you tap on the memory and you acknowledge the terrible feelings that you had, and you go back through the memory again and you release the negativity about it. And it also becomes a vague memory, and somehow it doesn't allow you, the situations are not as bad anymore at all as you felt they were going to be. You become your blossoming own self. You free yourself. That's what's called freedom techniques. You free yourself from the negativity of your past. So that is fantastic. Now, what I said was, in my practice, what I do is I take a whole hour of down of all the history, and we talk through what is happening. And then when I see people are really stuck on an issue, then I will, besides of talking it through, I will also use the EFT. There is one, if you ask me, I haven't asked me, but I'm going to say to you, I feel both CBT, but EFT even more so, is very Torahic, since this is a Jewish
Yes.
channel or whatever you want to call it. In what way do I mean that? So the Torah acknowledges that if you have a problem, it's important to talk it through. But what very often happens in therapy is that people become hypersensitized to their problem, because you start focusing on it and you go back to it, and it hurts an enormous amount, and you become terribly, terribly sensitive for a very long time. So let's say your boss reminds you of your sister, you don't know why, you're reacting to her, the therapist and you discovered together that it really was your sister, you didn't realize that, and then he or she talks with you, or you talk with them for, I don't know, 6 weeks, 3 months about your sister and your relationship. And it hurts. It's like opening a wound. It hurts a lot. It hurts enormously.
Yes.
So what happens? You actually become re-traumatized. And it is actually really very hard to get out of that, to get healed from it. And with this EFT, what it does is you do the same thing. You say, oh, with my sister, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. But you speak with the cognitive brain, but you go to the feeling brain while you calm down the nervous system. This calms down the nervous system. So the whole thing doesn't have a chance to erupt over you like a volcano. You calm it down, you reduce the intensity. Instead of it becoming sharp into focus and re-traumatize you, you calm the whole situation. You calm the memory. It becomes distant if it's good. And then you can just, deal with things afterwards. It's amazing. It just is amazing. So Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch has a very beautiful explanation on the kosher animal. So the Torah says only animals that both chew the cud and have split hooves are kosher. And he says that he interprets it as follows beautifully. He says, what is a symbol of chewing the cud? Regurgitation. You repeat it again and again and again. Memory. Yes?
Yes.
Not forgetting what you had. And what is the symbolism of the split hooves? The split hooves is moving forward. And he says a Jew must never forget his past, but he must move forward. And only if these two simanim are inside this one animal is it kosher. So if you have only split hoof, if you only move forwards, not connected to the past, not kosher. And a Jew isn't kosher like that. If you're only stuck in the past and can't move forward, not kosher. So both CBT and EFT, but I would say EFT more so, helps you move on. You don't forget the past, but it becomes not traumatic. Do you understand? And that is very Jewish. Hashem wants us to move on and build and not get stuck in the past. We can all get stuck in the past. It's all very terrible. Jewish history is terrible. I'm a child of Holocaust survivors. I could really sit on the couch and cry all day long and do nothing else. Yes. But that's not what Hashem wants from us. You understand? It is nisayon. Nisayon are there to strengthen ourselves, not to forget, but to strengthen ourselves. And that is what we're doing with the CBT. For EFT.
Yes, that's so beautiful, and I really appreciate you clarifying the difference between CBT and EFT. I think it's really important that you made the distinction. So thank you so much for that. It's so interesting because we're talking about EFT healing anxiety and depression and those traumatic thoughts that we had. It's so interesting because I saw somewhere that EFT is also good, like if you want to break addictions or break bad habits or weight loss. Can people use it for those things as well?
Yes, people really do that. People really do that. Yeah, you can do it. But of course, it takes, it's not like, oh, I'll do it once and then it's all gone. It doesn't go like that. Do you understand?
Yes.
It can be a quick fix, but then it doesn't last. You need to go to a trained person who will do that with you. And then he or she can teach you how to tap on yourself to maintain that. And then you go back again. Then you go back again on this, back to yourself in your daily life. You can reinforce what you have learned and have calmed down your nervous system. So for example, for many people, dieting is connected to comfort eating.
Yes.
Comfort eating. And it's not always true. There are many other good reasons, but okay. With EFT, you go back to the earliest memory. When did you earliest remember that you ate comfort? What does food mean to you? Remember, how was it? Oh, I was with my mommy in the kitchen and it was so lovely. And I was very, very upset because my sister took away my dolly. And then I grabbed some chocolates and that was really good. So I grabbed some chocolates, I was standing with my in the kitchen. And so you first need to go back to the earliest memory and reduce, let's say, the feelings around that memory. And then you can move forward and move forward and move forward. And then you can have a maintenance. I wouldn't call it diet, maintenance, tapping session. Okay.
Right. So then I was going to ask you, so like in order to do EFT, you really need to go to a special doctor or a therapist to have it done. And then that person can teach you, and then you can later do it yourself once you learn how to do it from a professional.
Yes. But I would say if you have real big issues, then you have to absolutely go to somebody to help you resolve it. So if you're asking me, give me some examples. I've dealt with many different type of people, but there was a widow, Nebuch, who I knew from the past, and she also moved to Israel, and I met her in the streets half a year after her husband had passed away, and I saw she wasn't doing well at all. And I said to her, so how are you doing? And she said, well, to tell you the truth, I can't get over it. I just can't get on. So I told her, look, I'm doing this. Do you want me to do it with you? So I gave her the first session for free, and then I charged her. And I would say it took 5 or 6 sessions. What had happened was that she had nursed her husband for 29 years. And then he died. And she was there when he died and fell. It was all very traumatic. So that is, and Baruch Hashem, it really, really has helped her. And she really gets on now. It doesn't mean that she's not mourning her husband. She can live. She has a life now. In other words, it is the mourning is normal. So do you know what I mean? It's not like
Yes.
she can function, and she can have joy in other things as well as the ordinary mourning process. And that is perhaps something else that I do want to say, and that is in our society, people want to deaden their feelings very often. Give me a pill, if it is, give me that. And very often there's very good reason to be very anxious or to be depressed or whatever there is. If, God forbid, the person loses a loved one, that is very normal. You can't tuck that away, obviously.
Yeah.
It is normal to go through. It is also, and one has to allow oneself to go through these feelings. But after a while, when you feel you can't get out of it and can't move on, and then EFT would be helpful. Do you understand?
I do.
Yeah, you know, that type of thing. And of course, if one is in a terrible marriage, you know, these things happen. EFT doesn't really help. I mean, you have to, you know, the two partners here, you have to actually go to couples therapy or couples counseling and do a bit of life coaching and see what is reasonable, what is not. And what you can do is reduce your own emotional load. In other words, you can calm down your own emotional reactions a bit and understand it more. So in other words, it's a very good calming technique, but it doesn't magic away all the problems in life.
Right. No, of course not. No, I totally understand.
Do you understand? Yeah. Okay.
I want to see so I want to see if can everybody do EFT? Like, can young kids, like 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, teenagers, like, do you have to be a certain age, or can a child of any age do it?
Well, it's very interesting you asked me that. We have grandchildren, Baruch Hashem, and I did an EFT session on a grandson who is very, very emotionally sensitive and very volatile, I would say. And he went mad because he had expected a package from Amazon and it hadn't arrived, and his parents didn't know what to do with him. He went absolutely berserk. So I said, okay, let's try a bit of EFT. And he's an intelligent child, and he's actually a nice child, but his emotions got the better of him. I said, look, do this with Safti. I'm Safti. Do it with me. And it really, really calmed him totally down. In fact, it calmed him down so much. He was very tired and he went to sleep. And after that, he was just normal about it. So yes, I don't know from what age, but I think when a child is 7 or 8, that can already be done. And maybe even younger. You know, it depends a little bit on the issue, on the child, on the maturity of the child. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's very good to know. It gives a lot of parents hope. Yeah.
It does give a lot of parents hope. And I must say there is something else which is called surrogate tapping. And that if a child has got a problem and the child, let's say, does not want to go to a therapist, and especially that happens with teenagers a lot,
Yes.
then the mother particularly can go to an EFT specialist, and through the mother, the child can be tapped. She can send her positive energy to, it's unbelievable. It is unbelievable, and it works.
Wow. Okay. So let me see if I'm understanding. So if, like, you have a child who doesn't want to go, and yes, I totally agree about teenagers that are not so open to going to this type of therapy, the mother can go.
Because don't you know that you're the problem? I'm never the problem. Always mommy is the problem.
Of course, 100%. You're right. Exactly. The teenagers. So the mother can go and she can get trained by the EFT therapist on the tapping.
Well, no, I would say to you, for this, it's a really specialized field. For this, you need to go to an EFT specialist, you know, and go there and she will do it with you. It is more specialized. It's not like, oh, I have a craving, I have a craving, I have a craving, I have a craving, I don't want to have the craving, why do I have the craving? You know, no. It is much more subtle, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you would have to do it, but I know a few very successful cases like that. I've seen it, so it's amazing.
Wow. And so the mother learns it. Now, is it just enough for the mother to learn it, or is she able to teach it to the child? Like, the child has to actually do the tapping?
No, it is energy work through the mother.
That's even more amazing. It's incredible. Wow.
Incredible, yes. And it is because the mother is emotionally so close to the child, and there is an energy between the mother and the child. It's true that well, you know this, Baruch Hashem, being blessed with children.
Yes.
You know, it might be the umbilical cord has been cut, but it's not really true. The umbilical cord is never cut.
True. Very true. I agree.
Your feelings filter through to the children's feelings, and it can be done. It's unbelievable. And yeah, it's amazing. It really is amazing.
So powerful. Thank you for sharing that with me, because I really did not know that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I want to see, when you do EFT, where do you tap? Can you just show us like a demonstration of what the EFT
Yes,
tapping
it is very simple. So most people think that the therapist taps on you, but this is not true at all. You tap on yourself and I tap on myself. So you know, sort of reflect me, or I reflect you. We reflect each other.
Okay.
And it's got 5 stages. You identify the goal. We don't say the problem, we say the issue, the goal. Okay. Then you have a setup phrase. Then you first identify the goal, the issue. You rate the intensity. That's number 2. Then you have a setup phrase, a balancing phrase. I'll show it to you. Then you do the tapping, and then you measure again the intensity of the feeling.
Okay.
And sometimes EFT therapists will use imagery and say, for example, okay, let's say you're very angry with your mother. I don't know, you're very angry. Where does this anger? Do you feel it in your body? And very often you do feel it in your body. I feel it in my stomach. And if it would have a picture, what would it be like? And very often it's like a fiery red ball or something. It's just whatever the client says. And then you can tap on that. You do both on both. You do both on the actual feelings and events. And sometimes if a person is very receptive to imagery, and that works for them, so you work either both through words. Words are very important, like NLP, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you also work through imagery if that is appropriate. And I think it is very powerful. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. The meridian points are which we call this the karate chop point here. We start here. You always tap with 3 fingers and you go like this. Okay. Yeah. And you say a balancing statement 3 times. Okay. And then you go on the forehead, just above the eyebrow, where the eyebrow hits the sort of here. Can you see what I'm doing here?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then there is a point here, next to the eye, here on the bone.
By the temple? Like, would you say it's like the temple?
No, it is more the socket of the eye.
Okay.
And then underneath the eye, but also again on the bone. Underneath the nose. On the chin. On the collarbone. Underneath the arm. And on the head. There are some extra points which are okay, which is like the size of the, but that is already more advanced here, side of the fingers. Mm-hmm. And there is something else, which is another technique. There are a few other techniques, but that's already more advanced. This is the basic stuff. Now, it is very interesting when a child is very upset. What do you do? No? Stroke the head.
Yes, stroke the head. Exactly. Yes.
Tap the head.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, you know it.
Yes.
Are you feeling? You understand? So the whole idea really is that the whole person really has a natural balance of energy. The Kadosh Baruch Hu gave that to us, and the tapping rebalances us. And the idea is that the body can heal itself. The Kadosh Baruch Hu puts an incredible koyach in the body, and illness and dysfunction is just a upset in that balance, a disturbance in the energy balance. And the EFT seeks to restore that, to allow you, to free you to become your best and optimal self, basically.
I love that. I love that. And if somebody wanted to find a qualified and skilled EFT practitioner in the area, how would they go about doing that?
Okay, well, there are registers, obviously, but it's always like a shidduch. As you know, any therapist with any client is a shidduch.
Yes.
So for someone, this is a fantastic therapist. For someone, it's an absolute terrible therapist. So it is very much, I would say to you, word of mouth recommendation, I would say, because you also know that therapists are very good therapists and are not such good therapists. And are also therapists who have their own problems, who project that into the sessions, which is to me a terrible thing, but that happens. And make sure that you have a healthy therapist. That's what I would say to you. Yeah.
Very, very important. Yeah, because you don't want their problems to go on you during the session. That's not going to be helpful to anybody.
Not. You don't want projection. No. I read some, in the Mishpacha magazine, there were some interesting articles about that. Do you remember that? I don't know if you read that.
No, I know the magazine, but I didn't read the article.
Yes, it was very interesting. It was about psychotherapists, and that's in some cases, the psychotherapist was the offended party. I mean, it was ridiculous because the clients canceled the thing. And she says, how can you do this to me? I mean, what? I mean, it made the client feel bad and guilty. And there should be clear rules. If you miss a session, then you have to pay, or it's but there is no emotional load from the therapist going onto the client, please. It's a big no-no. These things happen, or therapists who like to keep their clients. Okay, another good thing about this is short and sweet. Like, in other words, EFT rarely lasts longer than 4 or 5 sessions, unless you're talking about deep, enormous traumas and whatever. But it helps you also to help yourself. It reduces the trauma, and it also gives you tools how to deal more with if it would be triggered again, how to calm down. It's fantastic.
That's incredible. I'm so glad that we talked about this today, because I think this is going to help so many people. Thank you so much, Rebbetzin Kimche, for taking the time to join us on America's Top Rebbetzins. We really, really enjoyed having you here. And may this class be for Rafua Shalema, for Leah Eliana Bat Muna, and also for Chaya Rachel Bat Devorah Mindel. Thank you so much.
Amen. Very nice to meet you. Hatzlacha, Vera. Great.
Amen. Thank you.
Really nice. Take care.
You too. Thank you.